Hi, my name is Barbara Gardner. My husband and I used to listen to J.B. Wells almost every day. He always had very informative guests and guests that had good information about the news of the day. The show has changed. It has changed to the point to where we rarely listen anymore. It's gone from being informative to being semi-evangelical. I'm a Christian, so I don't mind listening to a sermon, but not in this format. I want to hear different guests, not the same ones all the time. Guests that have information that give me a new perspective and that I'm going to be politically and otherwise informed about and educated about. Thank you.
So you and I used to get up a lot of mornings and listen to J.B. Wells while we had coffee. My name's Duncan Adams. I'm her husband. And we don't do that as much anymore, do we?
No, not very often.
Yeah.
Sometimes we'll turn it on and we will see what his guests are going to be like, and so many times it's the same one, so we just don't listen.
Listen, okay, let me go back to, I think about, he had the prelogue, I call it the opening monologue. Mm-hmm. And and we used to listen to that quite a bit. Do we listen to that as much as we used to?
No, we don't.
Okay. Why is that?
Because going into it, a big portion of it is infomercials, and he just doesn't have the same type of views that it seemed like he used to have.
Okay. So is he repetitive with a lot of it from day to day? With the topics, repetitive topics?
At times, yes.
Yeah. Okay. And that can be a variety of things. So is it a fair assessment to say that his commentaries, and is it a fair assessment that from time to time his commentaries are good?
Yes, from time to time they are.
Yeah.
Not every day, but
not every day.
From time to time.
And is the quality of the commentary less frequent than it used to be?
I would say so.
Yeah. Okay. So even his commentaries, and was there not a situation where we were listening to the commentaries and then ignoring the guests because the commentaries were good?
Yes.
Okay. But now it's even got to the point that you and I don't like the commentaries as well as it used to be because of the quality.
That's a true assessment.
Yeah, quality or content. Okay. And we belabored that. So in total, we used to listen to J.B. Wells and Caravan to Midnight and Arc Midnight almost, I don't want to say every day, I did a lot, but we listened to them off and on through the weekend, and even correct?
Yes.
And I'd even record them and we'd play them as we drove around, correct?
Yes.
And we don't do that anymore.
No, we don't.
No, we don't do that anymore. And it's just gotten, would you say they've gotten boring?
I guess boring would be a fair assessment.
Okay,
yes.
because they've gotten repetitive. You're hearing the same mantra over and over again
from the same people over and over.
Well, dealing with his guests, but is his commentary so repetitive it's become non-informative?
To a point, and there is terminology that's used that I think probably has lowered the value of it. Not everybody knows who the usual suspects are.
Right.
There's just different terminology that's used that, like I said, I think it lowers the value of the entire show.
He almost, would you say that sometimes he talks somewhat cryptically? You just made the comment,
Yes.
usual suspects.
Yes.
And so we don't, if
Not
you,
everybody knows what some of those things mean.
yeah,
And, you
and
don't-
even if you listen,
Yeah.
you may not know, yeah, or at least in my assessment. Okay. I'm trying not to kill dead air. You have anything more? Do you have anything to, more to add from the aspect of how he projects himself from the standpoint of Christianity? Do you have any more comments on that?
No, I think I covered that well enough.
Okay, all right. Do you have any more overall comments?
No?
Okay, all right.
Okay, so I'm just, Duncan, I know that you've been wanting to do this for some time, so now what do you have to add? What do you think about what I have said and about the format of J.B. Wells' show?
Okay, well, what I have to add, I'll put on separate video, and I don't really have anything to add to you. So,
Then we'll switch.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's recording. My name's Duncan Adams. My wife Barbara Gardner was just on, and I'm going to be giving some observations and opinions dealing with the shows by the title of Caravan to Midnight and Ark Midnight, produced and owned by J.B. Wells. And I've gotten these notes in a semi-orderly fashion, but I am no broadcaster like J.B. And this is to the 5 or 6 or 8 people that may wander across this on YouTube. But predominantly it's for J.B. For J.B. Wells. And so there's going to be positive and negative in here. So it won't surprise me if anyone at the production facility doesn't look at this. It won't surprise me if JB doesn't look at it. And to be quite honest, yes, I am a disgruntled ex-member. I won't deny that, but I'm going to give reasons to that. And I had originally thought about doing a video as a compliment and a, hey, think about this. I personally don't think JB would listen to anybody at this point. So, this is what you might call, in the old barn vernacular, a bitch session to a point. To a point. Okay, let's go forward. And I'm going to start off with my notes. I'm very disappointed with the show at this point. Let me see. Today's date is March 8th, 2025. And I'm very disappointed with the show at this time in the last few months. And to give a little history of how I've listened to the show. I've listened literally for hundreds or thousands of hours while I was working out in the barn here on the property in southern Indiana. And, I mow a cemetery that takes me 12, 14 hours to do that. And I'd put it on an iPod and download it. And I was a member and download it. And I've gotten greatly educated off of the shows from years past. Okay? Some topics I'd never heard. Some I had. Because I've kind of sort of been out there in the, let's say, patriot movement for a few years and listened to alternative information. The commentaries I love to listen to, and JB is not an idiot, but the commentaries now are just trash, circular, same thing, over and over, and I'll get into some more of that later. Now, from time to time, yes, there are some good ones, where there used to be really 4 to 5 good commentaries a week. You might get 1 or 2 now, just depending on the week and the situation, what kind of mood he's in. Okay, pardon me for that. Onward. And yes, there have been many times he has brought up, and even recently he'll bring up comments and ideas, and I go, oh man, I didn't think of that. I got to look at that, make you think. And, very astute individual when he chooses to be. Now, I can't remember how I became aware of Caravan to Midnight. I think I heard his name off of Coast to Coast and got looking around, whatever, and I think I became a subscriber about 1 to 2 years after he had created Caravan to Midnight. So up until about 8 months or a year ago, I had subscribed the whole time. And I just let it lapse because it wasn't worth my money. I wasn't getting educated. And as JB, as you know, anything about talk radio, and I'm not that astute on it, and I'll talk about that later. There's 2 things you got to do to keep people interested in podcast talk radio. You've got to inform them, and you got to keep them entertained. And you're losing your ability to do both with the topics and the format that you have chosen to pursue. My opinion. Okay. Okay. If anyone listens to this and wonders, okay, maybe I shouldn't be a subscriber, whatever. If you want to go out there and get the older podcasts, he's got some good stuff. Now, as time goes on, it gets aged and repetitive, and the guest on the older show may now be out there doing a lot. I'll give Dr. Lee Merritt as an example. She was on there, I don't know how, back in COVID, he got her on. Well, she's got her own Rumble channel and doing this, that, and the other, so yeah. Is some of that outdated? Kind of, sort of. But he's had some good guests on there in the past. And dealing with that, the guests and the show were much better before he went on radio. He has to subscribe to the Federal Communications Commission on language and things like that, and being off color, and people could say things that were off color, i.e. vulgar, and just kind of laugh it off and go on. Well, you don't get the true flavor of people. And along with that, whenever he went back on radio, you got all these commercials now. And it's just not as good. In my opinion, from an educational and entertainment standpoint. All right, let's get in some of the negatives. This is my opinion and observation. And I'll give the topics on this. I think he's lying to JB. I think you're lying to yourself. I think you're lying to yourself now. Are you lying to me? I can't say that, but I think you're lying to yourself because I don't believe a bunch of what you're saying now. Let me go into some of what you've said. You get on there and say in the opening monologue, maybe even the regular show, this is not a podcast. Well, go look the definition up. Do you record it on your website? Do you put it out on all of this social media to be replayed over and over and over again? Yeah, you can say it's not, but it is. It is from the casual observer and even the technical definition of it. So, feed yourself that. Don't feed me that. Okay? It's a radio broadcast and a podcast. All right? All right, on the next one. Something else that you say, JB, don't talk about Caravan. Talk about what's said on Caravan. Well, what? Yeah, you want everybody to listen to it. You want everybody to buy your products. So you don't want them to talk about your website? I used to post your links to your website a bunch on Facebook. I don't anymore. There's nothing informative there, or very little anymore. So, don't talk about, the old Fight Club mantra. Don't talk about Fight Club. What are you talking about? If I had something that you got, I want everybody to talk about it. You ain't gonna like this. Alex Jones, Joe Rogan, all the others, Sean Ryan, they want to talk about it. You don't want people to talk about Caravan? Okay, fine. Not too bright, my opinion. Not too bright. And you made comment about don't talk about Caravan, talk about what's on Caravan. Well, I've just gotten to the point. There for a long time, I'd search for different shows. I remember that. I'm going to put that out. Put it on social media, Facebook, whatever. And it turned into a goddamn treasure hunt. It's just a treasure hunt. Your search feature is terrible. Terrible. You know, you can say it's not, but it is. Search feature for the shows, and Jellyfish, I don't think that much better. It's okay. You know, I'll give you that. But I can't find topics. Yeah, you can, and sometimes you can't even find the guests. So yeah, talk about Caravan. Talk about what's on Caravan. How? You can't find it. And that's a side note to anybody that would want to get a subscription. You're going to be on a treasure hunt to find individual topics. And yes, I'm going to use them as an example. And yes, they got a lot more money than you. But if you go to Coast AM, you can hunt this stuff up pretty easy. And you cannot on Caravan to Midnight. All right, let's go on. Censorship. Okay. Let me take a little break here for levity. Image. Theatrics. JB says time and again, well, you know, if I'm wrong, I'll admit it. Well, I think in your heart of hearts you will do that, JB, but I'm going to tell you what. You don't want anybody telling you that. You've canned me, or your staff has canned me off of Telegram. I can't even get on there anymore. And Rumble. And if I make, and I have to watch, if I do make comments from time to time on your live YouTube, I can't be real disparaging. Well, no, I can't be real honest with an observation without getting a, hey, watch it or do this. No, you don't want the truth, JB. How many people have you censored? And into that, I'm the guy. Maybe you've done it with others. I remember this. On Telegram, I wrote a letter, if you will, about how you talked about hope for this, hope for that, and I just looked at it as false hope. And it wasn't bad, or at least it was good enough it got your attention from somebody because you actually made a retort on that on Caravan. You didn't mention my name. No, you wouldn't do that. But you did make a retort, and unless somebody else wrote it that you were talking to, which I doubt they were, there was that. Now, dealing with being kicked off of Rumble chat and Telegram, did I use off-color language, i.e. vulgarity? Yeah, okay, sure. Did I use fornication under the consent of the king? Sure, I put fuck on there, but I used asterisks, and that's acceptable by the FCC. Now, JB, you can kick anybody off you want, but the Federal Communications Commission on Fox News allows that, but you wouldn't allow it with me. Now, it wasn't every other word or anything like that, and I know that. I'd use it for emphasis. Why the fuck did you do that type thing? Okay. And with that being said, when this goes on my YouTube channel, open to the public, I'm going to treat you better than you treated me. You can say anything you want, JB. Anything you want in the comment section. You can defame me. You can say I'm an idiot. I won't censor you, take you to task. I'm going to treat you better than you treat me because I believe in the truth more than you do, even if the truth isn't good.
Let me ask a question.
What?
You had said, in response to what you're saying now, that you aren't treated very fairly where that's concerned. He always touts the fact that he believes in the freedom of speech. That's not the freedom of speech.
No, and I can appreciate JB troll. I don't know what a troll is. I've been accused of that. Somebody with a disconcerting voice. No, you don't believe in freedom of speech. And anybody listening, he doesn't. Oh, and with that, where I've been censored before is on Jellyfish News. I have put reasonable, logical retorts and statements with no off-color words on there. And what happens to them? They don't get posted. And I took Brendy to task on some of her evangelical items. And I didn't use any coarse language. And what was I? Zero, old buddy. So you feed the shit to yourself and to your staff that you're open and freedom of speech and all that. Because I know different. And my wife's seen it. And she's seen what I've written. And it wasn't off color. I can appreciate if I use some rough language with your wife. Hey, don't be an ass, get off here. Fine. I've been out in the bar before when wife and I went into that. Hey, get out of here, jerk. Okay, fine. But I didn't do any of that. You can't stand it when somebody asks some hard questions. Well, at least if I put some hard questions out or hard statements, and I realize you can't answer everybody, and that's okay. You got all the social media and this, that, and the other, and dear God, you can't. I wouldn't. Just let them stand, even if they're stupid. And have I made stupid comments before? Every day. Okay, onward. Search, I'm trying to catch up on my notes. Rumble, corrects himself. No, you don't correct yourself a lot. We've caught different things that you can correct, and maybe you don't even know it, and that's fine, because I do things all the time I miss. I gave the false hope gig. Here's the next one. Here's the one that people have grumbled about. Infomercial. You got an infomercial Friday going on. Come on, JB. Be honest about it. Watchtower Firearms. Watchtower Firearms. Weatherman. What is that? His name with the health items. Dear God. What'd you just have on the fuel up? You just had the fuel up girl on. Night before last. And you do this over and over and over again. Okay, fine. If you want, I don't know what your financial situation is, but it tells me, my gut feeling is, you're having trouble with membership. You got to keep the machine going. You got a pretty wife you got to pay for. And you got to keep the machine going. And I get that to a point. And I'm even going to get into a little bit more of that people may or may not be aware of, and I'm not astute on podcast and talk radio merchandising. But Friday is infomercial, and the callers. Yeah, I know callers get screened because I used to call in, and I know how you can get cut off if you're starting to put a jab into the talk show host. But I'll give this one example. One guy called in. I've been listening to the callers, and they're all patting you on the back and clapping and all that. Okay, fine. That's great. They like you. And I like you from time to time, and other times I don't like you from what you do. And there was a positive note to keep the show going and all that. Okay, fine. But one caller called in one time. He got talking about Alex Jones, and I really don't think that he knew the history between you and him. And to be honest with you, I've heard it 3 times, and I'm still shady on it. Maybe I'm an idiot. Or maybe you're not as explicit as you want, as what your feelings are. But anyhow, he got talking about it, and you pretty much came short. And well, yeah, you called in and did. Well, I don't think he knew a damn thing. But I know you got a hard on for Alex Jones, and maybe rightfully so. I liked that show not too long ago where one attorney or paralegal looked into the briefs dealing with his bankruptcy. That was interesting. But let's face it, JB, who's got the audience? He does. You don't. And we're getting to the point we're listening to Alex Jones in the morning and not you. And yeah, you gotta learn how to cut down. He's a showman, and you gotta tune out the Barnum and Bailey thing. Okay, fine. Let me see what the next is. Christian radio. I'm going to talk about that a little bit. Now, I'm no expert like you, but I got called in a couple of times on a local talk radio station in Franklin, Indiana, just to kind of stir things up. And I'd sit around with the station manager and this, that, and the other, and this was his observation and opinion, so I'm no sage on this. Christian radio makes a lot of money, doesn't it, JB? Everybody wants to be with baby Jesus. And they sell a lot of advertising time. Now, I won't get into all of that to that point, but if you keep the Christians on your side, you can get some ratings, you can get some money. Okay? And that leads into this, JB. It's your show, you can do whatever you want, but I turn you off. I just tune it out. Why don't you make your own 700 Club? Make an hour a week about how, how people are going to hell if they don't accept baby Jesus, and you got to help baby Jesus out, and just do that. But no, you've turned this into a semi-evangelical show, and that's fine, but that's not what it's labeled as, okay? And another, you're being disingenuous to the people and to yourself, okay? And getting into this, a condemnation. You're out there helping baby Jesus. That's great. That's fantastic. I didn't know he needed the help, but I guess Jesus needs a bunch of help. There's all kinds of ministers out there trying to help him. And you're out there even helping him to the point you're condemning people to hell. Now, here lately you haven't done it, and maybe you aren't going to, but by God Almighty, there's plenty of recordings out there. He's done this and he's got... Well, okay. So, is Jesus talking to you on a nightly basis on who he's putting in hell? Great. I wish he'd talk to me. He doesn't talk to me. He must talk to you. You must be the anointed. Oh, and just some of the ministers you have on. Yeah, and just an aside, and maybe you've got that one minister on that's examined the Genesis in the Old Testament, and Eve got fornicated by Satan. Maybe he did. I don't know. Did Adam stand around and watch and then take his turn? I don't know. And that's fine. And you can believe that all you want. I don't. Okay. So dealing with that, dealing with all that evil out there and people going to hell. So Jesus loses and the devil wins. Must be. Jesus ain't that cool to be able to win. I touched on this, and this makes sense. You had said years ago that you were surprised you didn't have more membership. You let it kind of slip in a show. I remember we going into Franklin, Indiana, because I was listening to it on CD. And I was surprised too. I think you said you have about 250,000 subscribers, and I really thought it'd be more than that. I could be wrong on that. Been a long time. Well, I was surprised at that too, and disappointed. But here's what I see now. Maybe you got more subscribers than you've ever had. I don't know, but I ain't one of them. And I have a hard time believing I'm the only guy, or there wouldn't be a certain segment of people that said, I'm tired of being bored to death by the same show every day. Okay? So how do you make up for it? You gotta sell stuff. Now, to your credit, you don't sell Christian crap and Jesus junk. At least you don't do that. But you got Nucleo, and it's a pretty good product, and people ought to try it, and I've used it in the past, and it's done me good, and it's been a detriment, and, overall I think it's a good product, but I could take another 10 minutes on that. But you're pushing the Nucleo, you're pushing that, the quantum youth drops, and the Watchtower firearm, so you sit around, hit your Nucleo, rub the youth drops on, clean your gun, and put on the... the 5G anti-pendant. Okay. And a side note on that. I was really intrigued by that. But I can't figure out, and I defy anybody that can show me that good seal that they got in Germany, the only thing I've looked and looked, can't figure out where that, as far as I know, it's a good housekeeping seal. May be worthless. But anyway, you don't push that more. Along with... X point. He got his mileage out of you or vice versa on X point. Let me see. Yeah. And I don't know what you make off of Nucleo, but my thesis is, if you make, say, $10 a bag, which I'm sure you make more than that, at $100 a pop, I would think you'd make 20%. Okay? But if you make $10 a bag and can sell a bag to everybody every month, and do that in lieu of the membership, maybe that's enough to keep you going. I don't know, but that's what I see. That's what I think, not what I know. You have to do that to keep going. And why is it? Because your content has failed. Okay, summation. Dealing with JB. JB's a smart dude. He's made me open my eyes on a lot of things, more so in years past than now. Okay? I'm going, whoa, that's interesting. Never thought of that. Hey, that's good. Been surprised a couple of times he didn't know something that I knew. Not very often, but it does happen. And I say this, I do not think J.B. Wells would lie to you purposely about anything. And if I were in a situation and had to give him my PIN number to my account, I would not be afraid that he would abuse it, steal it, give it to anybody. I think he's a trustworthy. I think you're a trustworthy person, JB. If you were a neighbor, and we were talking over the fence row, I think you're okay on that. I think you lie to yourself. I don't think you'd lie to me purposely, but I think you lie to yourself anymore. Okay, and with that, now dealing with the summation. Caravan is no longer very informative or entertaining. It just ain't. I won't be listening to you. If it stays in the format it's at, I'm not going to be downloading it, recording it, and playing it when I'm chopping wood and mowing the grass, working in the barn. It's just nothing there. I'm sorry to say, you know, this is going to hurt you. I'm learning more off Alex Jones now. And yes, I understand he's a showman. But him and a variety of other people. And yes, I do listen to Coast to Coast from time to time. And there's a bunch of trash on there too. And I think that is it. I've covered most of the high points. I'm really sorry to see what you've done, JB. I'm disgruntled and disappointed. You know, you're a smart dude and you're better than this. Maybe you got pushed in an economic corner, I don't know, or whatever. Maybe you've had other people influence you. But as for me, and the wife has made her statements, you know, I'm not going to subscribe to you. And I'm just not even listening to you anymore. Because I just hear the same thing. Going to hell, all the Jews are evil, and a side note on that, just make a video on it and put it on Rumble and let everybody know and shut the hell up about it every time. Get these topics, make a video, reference people to that, and go on. You know, I don't know how much airtime you're getting out there, but from what I see, I've been on your website and done some searches on the AM, FM radio stations. The only thing I see, you got Arc Midnight out there. You know, they fill that Saturday night slot. And that's it. Well, that's it, JB. Sorry to see what you've done. And I'm not a customer anymore dealing with subscription. Thank you. My name is Duncan Adams.